Welcome, mourners, to another Sideshow Collectibles Court of the Dead stream. I'm your Arcanaist, Satine Phoenix, here with another amazing interview. Today we have Chrissy Lynn, Miss Chrissy Lynn on the internets. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Satine.
One of the, actually I should say, interviewing Gethsemoni herself.
Tis I.
So you are the official Court of the Dead Gethsemoni cosplayer.
I am the queen. Yeah, I still think about it, and I'm like, oh wait, I am the queen. I am the queen.
You are the queen.
Yeah. It's kind of fun. It's crazy.
So why don't you explain to our audience what cosplaying is?
Ooh, okay. Because we assume that anyone watching this has never cosplayed before and doesn't know anything about it.
Exactly.
Save for they haven't. Cosplaying is just basically, think of it as costume play. It's where it's actually just combined making the word cosplay. It actually, I think it originated it's an Eastern hobby. And it's basically being a kid or a teenager or a full-grown adult and dressing up in your favorite characters and running around with your friends at conventions or children's hospitals or world premieres or different events, and just kind of being somebody else for a day, but mostly fictional characters.
Cool. So what got you into cosplaying?
I would say growing up with a lot of pop culture, Star Trek, Star Wars, Batman is my number one jam, comic books, video games. I just had, that was the world that I lived in, the world that I grew up in. And then my first San Diego Comic-Con experience was 2004. And I just went I'm going to buy all the books. And then I saw all the books, so I bought all the books. But then I was like, there's all these people dressed up. This is really cool. They're in these costumes. They're I want to be Catwoman, I want to be Batman. I want to be anything out from Gen 13 or X-Men. And so then I didn't think much about it, because you when you first see it, you're like, oh, people are being paid to dress up in as that character for those booths, and yes, that is true. They do hire the booth babes, people to dress up to represent a certain book coming out or a video game or any new development or publication or movies or anything. And so that is play a part in the cosplay community, sort of. But then there's no, I'm going to go home, I'm going to build this and make this costume, and I'm going to transform myself, whether it's with special effects makeup or body paint or wigs or armor or spandex suits, and I'm going to be that character, and I'm just going to go attend the convention and then go to my favorite writers and creators of the characters, because that's my favorite thing, is when you're dressed up in something and going up to someone who made you. It's you changed my world, you changed my life. This is who I am and who I love. Catwoman is my number one thing. That's Catwoman and Rogue for DC and Marvel. So when I have a picture with Julie Newmar, and I've got a picture with Lee Merriweather. Unfortunately, I will never get a picture with Adam West, and that's okay, or Eartha Kitt, because I grew up with the original, old school Adam West Batman, as well as everything dark that happened in the 80s, so 1989 Batman. And it's just, and then even writers, meeting Jeff Loeb or getting art from Tim Sale, it's just such a fun experience. But aside from that, my big thing is that I pride myself on is cosplaying with my friends. So I have this thing about, I want a big giant group. I want every character from this specific book, or this scene, or this group of superheroes, or whatever it's from. And I'm how many cosplayers can we get to run around the convention floor and not get run over? Or make it really onto the Marvel stage or the DC stage. So I like to do really big groups because I just love cosplaying with my friends.
That's really fun. And then you guys walk around the cons we are the team. Yeah. We are the X-Men.
And then if we can make it 5 feet without getting stopped for photos, it's pretty incredible. I've been on the Marvel stage 3 times now. I've been on the DC stage twice. And then, of course, working with Sideshow and being the queen for the Court of the Dead the last 2 years, and being at their booth during Comic-Con has been I worked so hard to perfect my craft and my skill set and my techniques to learn and make and build things that was the pinnacle of my
oh wow,
my trade, in a way, is being the queen at the booth. And I love the lore, learning about Court of the Dead was in 2015, and I had already, I'd done a plethora of different Catwoman costumes and rogue costumes, and I was like, I like dark horror, macabre, morbid stuff, and like underworld things. And so when I learned that they had this original IP, I immediately got home from Comic-Con, went on the website, and I was like, what is this? It was going over the different factions and then looking at the different characters, and a couple of my friends had cosplayed Kieran Shard that year.
Oh, cool.
So we'd gone to the Sideshow party, and I chatted up with them a little bit, and I met Tom for the first time, and I saw the Queen, and I was like, I'm going to cosplay her someday. She's dope. And it was this design, her first statue.
It's very sexy.
It was really sexy. Very, very cool. And I just love bones, so the fact that she's got this hand skeleton top.
Yeah, it's pretty hot.
And her tattoos. And her pelvic bone crown.
Nothing represents womanhood like Gethsemoni.
It is true. Well, she's all that is a mother, a lover, she's a creator. She is womanhood, exactly, incarnate.
Yeah. So what was it like, so going back to the cosplay, you were making these costumes. You're not just buying them from the rack. You are seeing them, absorbing them, and then creating them?
For the most part, yeah. The first costume I ever made was my first cosplay, and I was Mad Harriet from the DC universe in 2010. And I didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't sewing at the time. I was hot gluing everything. I was like, yeah, this is fine. I'm just going to slapdash this together, put it on, as long as it looks good in a photo. That's like the rule. Like, does it look good in a photo? Okay, that's the only thing that matters. And then I did my biggest build, though, with actually sewing and leather work was steampunk Catwoman. We did a giant steampunk cosplay group. Cool. When steampunk was very relevant, sort of, at the time. It's still cool. I still love steampunk. I mean, I've got gears, tattoos. I'm that person. So, yeah, I always sewed by hand. But while I was learning to make costumes for myself, granted, like, there's things that I don't want to go out of my way to really learn, like spandex bodysuits and corsets, because I have so many amazing costumers professionally who do this that are better at it than me. So I sew things for other people or myself. I do commissions on things that I am good at, and those are my strengths, But yeah, so I never think it's wrong for anyone to commission anybody to for their costumes. But for this one in particular, I really wanted to dabble a little bit more into sculpting and creating armor that way, and casting and molding. And the nice thing is, during that entire process, I've been an effects makeup artist for a while, and I've been a makeup artist for even longer. So I was taking those painting techniques and those airbrushing techniques to a different canvas, so to speak.
Very cool.
So yeah, it's always been a learning process. And, there are a lot of cosplayers who maybe they just don't have the time to really, hone in on what they're good at for their craft. I will say you can't just sit in your living room and sculpt, cast, and mold and work with fiberglass. So space can be a scenario, a problem, a factor into that. Or, it is expensive. The hobby can be very expensive. But thankfully, I know hair, wigs, and makeup really well, so I've been able to transform a lot of my friends into a lot of really fun characters. And I do that now when I guest at cons. I do live demonstrations at my booth, because it's just fun. It's a fun thing to do. My friend Dawn Banks, she created the Cosplay Makeup 101 panel, so we are doing that again this year. I probably am not allowed to say that, but we are doing it at San Diego Comic-Con, and where we get a bunch of different makeup artists and people in the cosplay makeup community, so to speak, to speak on a panel of telling other people, other cosplayers, upcoming or who really want to up their cosplay game. We talk about contact lenses, we talk about teeth being made, we talk about wigs versus your hair, different body paints, prosthetics. It's cool, because all of that can really alter the character. You can either really become the character or not.
But it's great that you're sharing that knowledge with people, and you're not hoarding it for you and your own crew.
There's no point in it, and honestly, that information is shared all over the place all the time on Instagram and YouTube. But buyer beware. You got to be really careful of makeup artists who are just only used to doing makeup on themselves, and maybe they get a brand deal and they're doing I'm working with NYX or I'm working with MAC, and here's my makeup on myself, but they're not used to being on set and they don't have that experience with other people. So there's a lot of YouTubers, and I'm not shaming them in any way, but when you want to hire someone to do your makeup, you got to make sure that they're trained and they're professional and they know how to take things off, like remove them and apply them safely, because you can really hurt your client or your talent. And you
Sounds like you've heard this experience before.
Yeah, and like there's like hygiene and sanitation. There's all kinds of things that go, because you're putting things on people's bodies and taking them off, and so it's nice to, and we have nothing to hide. If anything, your technique is going to change and get better and become your own technique. And one of my sayings is, there's no wrong or right way, there's your way, but make sure it's safe practices, of course. So I always just say trial and error. I constantly used all of my friends as guinea pigs for years, like whether it's hair styling, hair coloring, body paint, sticking foam latex on their faces, or silicone, or just latex, So, yeah.
By the way, your hair looks magnificent today.
Are we into this?
Yes.
Into it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like Pizzazz and Jem are having a fight on top of my head.
But it totally works.
Thank you.
Okay, your origin story to how you became Gethsemoni.
Okay, so well after learning about Court of the Dead and reading up on it and finding my faction, which happened to be Flesh, that's really funny.
High five.
Yeah. I'm representing right here. This is also designed by Badali.
Oh,
they have they're one of the partners, and then I have the court ring as well. I did a shoot with them after WonderCon, actually, modeling some other stuff, which is like amazing opportunity because I am the queen. But yeah, so I had some friends who worked for Sideshow, and they were doing their, I think they were in PR, and they were like trying to find different people in the community who could basically make this costume and model it and wear it at the convention. And so they had talked to a few folks, and one friend in particular was a big advocate for me at the time, and she was like, get Chrissy to do it. Chrissy has the body type. Chrissy can do the wig, the makeup. She can make the costume. She can sculpt the armor. She can do all that. And so they reached out to me, and it was like just days before a Japan trip. So I was like, I got the email and I was like, I'm gonna cry.
You're already happy because you're going on this awesome trip.
But also like when I get back, we get to go have a meeting with Sideshow. Okay. So I came out, it was my first time being here, and I did the whole tour, and the facility, the campus now is beautiful, and it's big, and it's grown so much, and just watching it over the years has just been very flooring. But so I was like, cool. And they were like, how would you make it? What would you do? So I laid out exactly what I would do. And at the time, my brain, I'm like, cool, what mediums am I good with? Cool, foam, Warbler, thermoplastics. All right, great. I can
Those
sew.
are all, I have no idea what you just said.
Okay, well, foam, like craft foam
I know
or
that
EVA
one.
foam, yeah. Warbler is the thermoplastic. It's plastic and wood, and it's heat. You kind of heat it to mold and sculpt and make things with it. My crown is made out of Warbler.
Wow.
So, but then I was like, well, how am I going to do this to hold these up? And then I'm like, that has to be glued to me. I'm not doing straps. Like, I'm going to be half naked, whatever. This is fine. I'm just not going to eat for a year. And then
Don't do that at home.
No, don't do that.
That was a
Always
joke.
eat. Cosplayers eat and drink lots of water.
Yes.
And so then I was like, I'm ready to, I haven't sculpted in years. It'd been a long time. Like, I haven't sculpted anything in a while, and I was like, you know what, maybe I should sculpt this so I can get it exactly to look exactly like it. So I went and got a full torso cast and head cast of my body done.
Casual.
Too casual, just keeping it very casual. So like there's a half naked me like at home in my apartment, just like chilling. And I sculpted the entire top on that, and then her belt piece. And then I used a mannequin to sculpt her shin guards, and then all the wrist and arm pieces.
Cool.
Because we were going to do it out of silicone, so it'd be already flexible anyway, so it didn't have to match like my wrist or my forearm.
And it's lightweight?
Yes.
No?
Yes and no. If I can go back and resculpt the top, I would, and I'd make it thinner. That was the thickest, heaviest piece. So, but I used Westmore Effects silicone adhesive that they just put out to stick her to me, and she stuck to me for 3 days.
Wow.
Well, I mean, I took her off in between each day. But yeah, so I was like, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to sculpt again. I got my cast done. We did the crown. I airbrushed everything. I painted everything. I was gonna add pigments to the silicone while it was curing, but it wasn't working. So I was like, well, what do I know how to? I know how to airbrush. Okay, so I painted her, and then I had a team. I actually brought in a team.
Wow.
Because again, talented friends, and like, you know, when we, by our powers combined. So my roommate, Jessica Mills, she is a brilliant wig stylist. And I was like, you know, I could do the wig, or we could do the wig. And then I was like, but maybe you want to do the wig. And she did want to do it so badly. So I let her do it, and because I needed her there to put it on my head the day of, and then put the crown on. And so basically everybody who was working on it with me, they also attended. And there was only like a few of us who worked on the actual thing, but getting me into it was a whole different story.
Wow.
I had to airbrush all my tattoos off. I had to cover all of my current tattoos, and then I had a stencil made and cut to basically her back, if you want to turn it. For that. So I had to take off my tattoos, put on her tattoos, and I basically kept the body paint on for the 3 days. I used European Body Art alcohol-based paint, and it stayed just fine. I would put a bunch of powder on, put a t-shirt on, go to sleep at night, get up. It's
like a temporary tattoo, essentially.
Essentially, yeah. And like, if you use the paint right, it can stay on for a long time. But yeah, so we put us all together. It was kind of interesting having just glue holding myself up all week. If you can experience it sometime in your near future, just try it once. And then I made the skirt portion. I actually based it. It's actually off of this statue. So the second design.
The long black skirt with the red inside, the red sparkles.
Because on my first meeting, I came to talk about the first design, and then I saw the second statue, which wasn't even out yet. They just kind of unveiled her at like Monsterpalooza, and I fell way more in love with her because her color scheme, and I loved all of this like patinaed, weird, just all that texture was just insane to me. And I went a little extra. I made her her little sheath for her dagger, and then we had the dagger made. Cool. My friend Hal of Pixel Arts was the one who helped me cast and mold, and so that was a really fun, beautiful, amazing design.
All of this is very intense.
Sorry,
it
it's
sounds
a lot.
very labor intensive and also time consuming. How long did that take, start to finish?
The first meeting was in, I think, March or April, and then I could actually start. I know, and Comic-Con's in July, so I started on everything because I had to go and go to Reynolds in the Valley and buy the materials, and the Pixel Arts shop is in Vegas.
Oh, wow.
So I flew back and forth and drove back and forth a few times because I really wanted him to help me work on it. I thought it'd be a good, fun experience for him, and he's done a lot of other things since then. But we had a few months, maybe even a little bit less. I feel like the last thing I was working on just right up until leaving for San Diego was her skirt, which I had a built-in wire to make it look like it was flowing.
Oh, cool. So kind of like what they do for the sculptures.
I was like, it has to look just like that. And then, of course, adding the dagger was me being extra. I'm like, oh, that wasn't really in the request, but I'm going to put it there because I'm extra. And then wearing her for 3 days. And the greatest thing was she's barefoot. So I don't have to wear any shoes. I was walking all over the Sideshow carpet like, da-da-da, this is the most comfortable cosplay I've ever worn. No, it was great. It was really awesome.
Wow, that's pretty incredible.
And that's just year one.
Is that normal? Only 4 months to make a costume, or do you have longer?
I think it really depends. They emailed me February or March, and we still had to meet up, talk about budget, and then once the money, I got the starter money to really get it and build it. Okay, great. So yeah, I mean. Honestly, for a costume like that, if time was pressed, it worked out great. It looked beautiful. It was fine. There are a few things I would go back and want to change. Again, I'd make the top a little thinner. But I hadn't sculpted anything in a long time.
Yeah.
And I'd actually never sculpted a chest piece that was going to be stuck to me. Yeah. So we didn't really have time for trials. Yeah, I probably didn't try everything on, do a test run until the day of I was wearing it.
Oh my goodness.
But here's a secret. I do that with all of my cosplay. I never do trial runs, which is so not smart. But I am a masochist.
That's your advice to everybody is do a
trial run. Yeah, you don't have to do the makeup, hair, and paint for something unless you've never used the paint before. Then you want to test it out because you could have an allergic reaction to it, and you'd rather find out in prior than the crown.
How did you get that to stay on your head? Especially that one.
So when we were making it, we built it to where it had we had an idea to use horsehair and like. It's a long story, but it had to be able to like comb in, pin in, or tie in. So the crown, be mindful, I wore this costume, 2 different versions of it with 2 different crowns for 2 different years. So the first year, it stuck on my head pretty well. It was very lightweight. Mm-hmm. It was mostly made out of foam and Worbla. And it kind of tied in and combed into the hair a little bit. Like it kind of sat just right. If I leaned my head all the way back, it might fall off. Year 2... was there is I don't know if it's in here, but they made an actual you can actually buy just the crown to put on the head at home. That was much heavier, and that had to be tied into the bun on the wig. And the wig we used the same wig from the previous year. We just dialed it downward a little bit, mm-hmm. and then we tied it in, and then this portion up in the front here was all foam, so it wouldn't dig into my head. Jesse actually worked on that, bless his heart. Having it on for 6 to 7 hours for 3. I mean, it was a lot. It was a lot, and it was very. It was tedious in a lot of ways, but it looked great. I have some amazing photos from it, and I would do it all over again, over and over again, any time.
Will we be seeing Gethsemoni?
Yes.
Very soon.
Very soon. Yes, she'll be back for San Diego Comic-Con this year. But Saturday only, and I am still torn right now if I want to wear what I wore last year. So I built a gown last year based off of art by Abigail Larson.
Oh yes. Yeah, it was the Victorian, right, mm-hmm. with the ruffles mm-hmm. and all. I
took a few different artist designs because they'd want to see something a little bit different, and I love Abigail's art. And I work for Black Phoenix Alchemy Lab, and we work with her all the time.
Oh, cool.
So it's like I know what I want to do. And Jesse Thaxton helped me construct and build a pattern for the top, which was all leather, and I airbrushed the entire dress. It's got all like the velvet guts coming out. Like it's just I love that thing. So I'm torn right now between wearing that and reprising the bikini again.
Well, you have something new that will help you with the stencils.
It's very true. Okay. So for my birthday to me last year, because I did the gown last year, I didn't want to sit through another session of doing her paint of the tattoo on the back. So I actually went and got her tattoo on my back. I went to my artist and I'm like, hey, can you just put that right there? And he was like, yeah. Okay.
You are the queen.
I am the queen. Yes. So I actually have her tattoo on my back. It's wild. It's crazy, but it's such a beautiful tattoo.
It's really beautiful. It's that good, awesome representation of like the celestial angel wings.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that it moves
plus
too.
Vertebrae.
Her tattoo moves. Yeah.
Wow. So, this is awesome.
Dedication. Yeah.
Well, it shows your dedication to her. And before we end, what is it about her that really called to you specifically?
So I'm naturally a caregiver. There's just something like maternal about me with all my friends and my family, and that is kind of who she is. Now, granted, if she gives life, she could take life too. So it's like I'm not that mean, but yeah, just something elusive about her. But very confident and strong about her. Like, she's Death's firstborn, but she's not like, what's the word? She doesn't have this expectation of getting everything that she wants, even though she can.
Yeah.
But she's also nurturing, and she does care. And there's just something about her that I can relate to in like a weird spooky kind of a way. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Well, she was born with all those, the experience of others. Mm-hmm. And there's something really intelligent about her that I like. And she's got that, she's so mercurial, but also has that responsibility to care for the creatures that she creates.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for letting me run my mouth like the queen. You know, like it's like this is about me. No, I appreciate it.
This is about you. This is your interview.
I'm
so
just
happy.
here to support.
Yes, we all love Court of the Dead. We all love you, mourners, and thank you so much. Thank you, Chrissy Lynn. You can find her at Miss Chrissy Lynn on the internet. And until we meet again, dear mourners, rise, conquer, rule.
Did you enjoy that video? Be sure to subscribe by hitting the S icon on your screen and click the bell icon to be notified whenever a new video is posted. If you'd like more info on the items featured in this video, click the link provided under product info. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to let your geek side show.